everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm John and I regularly post video tutorials here on YouTube to suit all abilities. Today we're going to be looking at the fabulous song The Man Who Sold the World, as written and recorded by David Bowie in 1970. The song was also famously performed by Nirvana at their MTV Unplugged concert in 1993. Both versions are very similar, except Nirvana's version is recorded a semitone lower in pitch than the Bowie recording, due to Kurt Cobain's preference for down-tuning his guitar. I'll be looking at the song in the same key or keys as the original David Bowie version, but if you want to play along with the Nirvana recording, you'll need to tune your ukulele down to G flat, C flat, E flat and A flat, and then play the same chord shapes that I'm using for this tutorial. I hope that makes sense. So let's get started, but just before we do, if you do find this tutorial helpful, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps me a lot with making more of these video tutorials moving forward. If you'd like a PDF copy of the song sheet with the lyrics, the chord boxes and the tablature for the riffs, buy me a coffee. See how to do so in the video description below and I'll email one over to you. Alternatively, join me over at my Patreon page where all my video tutorials and accompanying PDFs can be found in one place. The link for this can also be found in the video description below. The song has an interesting structure and effectively moves between the keys of D harmonic minor in the intro and its verses to its relative key of F major for the chorus. There's also one non-diatonic chord in the chorus that's borrowed from the parallel key of F minor, and a couple of time signature changes where we get the odd bar of 2/4 instead of the normal 4/4. The form of the song is essentially an 8-bar intro with the iconic lead guitar riff played over it, then the first verse, and then the first chorus. This is then followed by the intro sequence with the riff again, and then we have a second verse followed by a second chorus that's then also followed by the intro riff again, and then we go into a third and final chorus that's then followed by the intro sequence one more time that finally takes us into the outro of the song. In the Bowie version this has a kind of improvised vocal over it and repeats to fade, and in the Nirvana version Cobain plays a simple guitar solo to finish the song. The intro is 8 bars long and has 2 bars of A, then 2 bars of D minor, then 2 bars of F, and then we have a single strum of D minor that's held for 2 bars. The strumming pattern I use for the intro is the standard calypso or island strum, so down, down, up, down, up. So this strumming pattern over the intro chords would sound something like this. In the Bowie version, the final bar of this sequence is a bar of 2/4, which is half the duration of the rest of the bars. And this is in order to fit the lyrics. We passed upon the stair. So the single strum of D minor is on beat 1 of bar 7, and then the syllables we passed up are on beats 2, 3 and 4 of this bar, and then the syllables on the are on beats 1 and 2 of the short bar, and then we land on the first beat of the first bar of the verse on the word stair. So the full chord intro would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We passed upon the stair. In the Nirvana version, Kurt Cobain manages to avoid the bar of 2 by strumming the single D minor chord and then waiting for 2 beats before singing the opening line. So, we passed upon the stair, and so on. But for the rest of this tutorial and also the play-along video, I'll be using the Bowie version. Now probably the most iconic part of this song is the guitar riff that's played over this chord sequence every time it's repeated. Now the tablature for this can now be seen below, and this can all be played on the E string of our ukulele, the second string from the floor. So what we're doing here is we're playing 3 eighth notes at the 5th fret, then a quarter note at the 3rd fret, and then we're coming back to the 5th fret, and at this note we pluck the note, we then hammer on our little finger and take it off, all without plucking the string, with our right hand, and then we pluck the note at the 3rd fret. So that should sound something like this if I go slowly. Once again. And then a couple of times in a row. This riff is then played over each bar of the first 6 bars of the intro, and then we play a single note at the 5th fret of the E string as the opening line is sung. Obviously you can't really play both the chords and the riff at the same time, so you'd be playing one part or the other. For the verse, I still like to use the island strum or the calypso strumming pattern, but I like to play it with a chuck or a chunk on beats 2 and 4 of the bars, like so. And this helps give the verse the underlying Latin feel of the original. This is obviously optional, so please feel free to try other strumming options. So the verse is 16 bars long and has 2 bars of A7 in bars 1 and 2, then 2 bars of D minor in bars 3 and 4. Then we have another 2 bars of A7 for bars 5 and 6, and then 2 bars of F in bars 7 and 8. In bars 9 and 10 we get 2 bars of C, and then in bars 11 and 12 we effectively have 2 bars of A. However, bar 12 is again a short bar of 2/4 in order to fit the lyrics, I thought you died alone. So my suggested strumming option here would be to either just play a single strum of A on the first beat of bar 11 and then come back in with the same strumming 5 beats later on the next chord, which will be a D minor in bar 13. This is probably the easiest option and the lyrics make it very obvious where to start again. So, which came as some surprise, I spoke into his eyes, I thought you died alone. Or, alternatively, play through bar 11 as normal and then just play 2 more down strums, or down up in bar 12 before resuming the normal strumming on the D minor in bar 13. So, which came as some surprise, I spoke into his eyes, I thought you died alone. So that gets us to bar 13 and 14, which are 2 bars of that D minor. And finally, bars 15 and 16, we have 2 bars of C. And here I like to change the strumming pattern to down, down, up, down, up, down, up, which really complements the scale-like riff that the bass and the lead guitar play and the driving feel of these 2 bars in the chorus that we're about to go into. We'll be looking at this riff in just a moment. So the whole of the first verse would sound something like this. We passed upon the stair, we spoke of was and when, although I wasn't there, he said I was his friend, which came as some surprise, I spoke into his eyes, I thought you died alone, a long, long time ago. Now it's very easy to think of those final 2 bars of C in the verse as the beginning of the chorus, as they have the same feel and the same riff being played over them. But they're definitely not, and when we get the 2 choruses together at the end of the song, it will become more obvious, as they won't actually be there. Now the chorus is actually 7 bars long, and the chord sequence is a bar of C, and then a bar of F, and then we have a bar of B flat minor, or B flat minor / D flat, and this is what's known as a slash chord, and means that we should play a B flat minor chord, but with the note D flat as its lowest note. Fortunately for us, this is the standard first position chord for B flat minor that we would probably play anyway, even if we didn't have the / D flat after the chord. And as a rule of thumb, as a ukulele player, you can generally ignore the note after the / and leave that to the bass player if you have one. If you can play that note as the lowest note, go ahead. So in bar 4 we go back to a bar of F, and then in bar 5 we have another bar of C, another bar of F in bar 6, and finally another bar of B flat minor, or B flat minor with a D flat in the bass, in bar 7 to finish the chorus and take us back into the intro sequence and riff once again. So the full chorus, without the final 2 bars from the verse before, and back into the intro sequence would be 1, 2, 3. Oh no, not me, I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. And I'm back into a calypso strum for these bars. As I mentioned before, there's also a scale-like riff that is played by the bass and the lead guitar over the last 2 bars of the verse and the whole of the chorus. And the easiest way to understand this is that there is a different scale or riff played over each chord. So one riff played over the C chord, another that's played over the F chord, and also another one that's played over the B flat minor chord. And whichever chord we're playing in the bar, the relevant riff is being played over it. So for the last 2 bars of the verse and the first bar of the chorus, we would be playing this scale, which is effectively a normal C major scale, but with the note at the 7th degree flattened by a semitone. The full name for this is a C mixolydian scale. So first we play the open C string, the 3rd string from the floor, a C. Then we play the note at the 2nd fret of the same string, which is a D. Then we play the open E string, the 2nd string from the floor, which is an E. Then we play the note at the 1st fret of that string, an F. And then the note at the 3rd fret of the same string, a G. Then we play the open A string, the string nearest the floor, which is an A. Next we play the note at the 1st fret of this string, which is a B flat. This is the flattened note that's not in the C major scale. And finally we play the note at the 3rd fret of this string, which is a C, an octave higher than the C we started on. All of these notes are played as 8th notes, so it will just sound like we are playing a scale, something like this. So that gets played twice over the last 2 bars of C in the verse, and then once again over the first bar of C in the chorus. Then in bar 2 of the chorus, we have a bar of F, and here we're going to play an F major scale with its normal 7th degree. So again, starting on the C string, we play the note at the 5th fret, which is an F, and then the note at the 7th fret, which is a G. Next we move to the E string and we play the note at the 5th fret, an A, then the note at the 6th fret, which is a B flat, then the note at the 8th fret, which is a C. Then we move to the A string, the string nearest the floor, and we play a D at the 5th fret, then the E at the 7th fret, and then the F, an octave higher than the note we started on, at the 8th fret. Again, these are all played as 8th notes, so it would just sound like we're playing an F major scale, and would sound something like this. Note here how I bar my first finger across the 5th fret, which means I don't need to move my finger in order to play any of those notes at the 5th fret, just the notes after it with my other fingers. So once again. In bar 3 of the chorus, we have a bar of B flat minor, or the B flat minor with the D flat in the bass, and here we're just going to play this riff. And here we're just playing a note at the 1st fret of the C string, which is a D flat, as a dotted quarter note, then the same note again as an 8th note, then we move to the E string and play the note F at the 1st fret of this string as a quarter note, and then finally we move back to the D flat on the C string and play it as a quarter note again. So this bar would sound like this. In bar 4 of the chorus we go back to a bar of F, so here we play the F major scale that starts at the 5th fret again. Then in bar 5 we have another C chord, so here we go back to the C mixolydian scale that we started with. In bar 6 another bar of F, so we go back to the 5th fret and play that scale again. And then finally in bar 7 we have a bar of B flat minor, so we play the little 4-note riff once again. And at this point we go back into the intro sequence where you play the opening riff once again. Now it's definitely quite tricky to play all of this over the chorus and to be able to remember which part you're in. So I definitely suggest initially learning each part that happens over each chord off by heart and without having to read the tablature, and then maybe just make a note of the chord changes in order to practice the sequence. So the chord changes, if we're including the last 2 bars of the verse, would be 3 bars of C, 1 bar of F, 1 bar of B flat minor, 1 bar of F, 1 bar of C, 1 bar of F, and 1 bar of B flat minor to finish. So here is a clip from the play along video of the full sequence with both the riffs and the chords from the last 2 bars of the verse and the whole of the chorus and back into the intro sequence once again. A long, long time ago. Oh no, not me. I never lost control. Your face to face with the man who sold the world. So after the first verse and the chorus and the intro again, we get the second verse. The chord sequence for this is identical to the first verse, so I won't go over the chords again, but if I just play the second verse with its different lyrics, we would have: I laughed and shook his hand and made my way back home. I searched for a foreign land. For years and years I roamed. I gazed a gazely stare at all the millions here. We must have died alone a long, long time ago. After the second verse, we have a second chorus that then goes back into the intro sequence again and then takes us to one final chorus. This time we don't stop on beat 1 of bar 7, but play right through all 8 bars, and bar 8 is actually a bar of 4 here, not the bar of 2/4 we'd have had if we were going into a verse. Also, the intro riff is played throughout all 8 bars. Now, because the final chorus comes after the intro sequence instead of from a verse, with the lead part we wouldn't play those 2 bars of the C Mixolydian scale that are played over the last 2 bars of the verse, and hence the 7-bar chorus sequence would just be 1 bar of C, 1 bar of F, 1 bar of B flat minor, 1 bar of F, 1 bar of C, 1 more bar of F, and 1 bar of B flat minor to finish. And at the end of this final chorus we would just play the intro sequence once again with the riff. Now after this, in the Bowie version, there's an outro that just repeats the intro sequence chords, and he sings a kind of improvised vocal over it that repeats to fade out. And in the Nirvana version, Cobain plays a simple guitar solo, which are the same notes that Bowie sings to finish the song. In my play-along video, the outro is the same 4-chord, 8-bar sequence, played around 4.5 times to end on a single D minor. So now you have all the chords, suggestions for strumming patterns and all the riffs for The Man Who Sold the World. I'll link to my play-along video for you to practice with, both in the card above and the video description below. Be sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed the tutorial, and don't forget to subscribe for more ukulele content. Let me know in the comments what other songs you'd like to learn next. If you'd like a copy of the song sheet with the lyrics and the chord diagrams and the tabs for all the guitar parts, buy me a coffee, see how to do so in the video description below, and I'll email one over to you. Or alternatively, join me over at my Patreon page where all my video tutorials and accompanying PDFs can be found in one place. The link for this can also be found in the video description below. Thanks for watching and bye for now. To face